All right, people. So unless you've been living under a rock, there's no way you don't know that Netflix had a new show out called The Umbrella Academy, and this show is definitely a hit. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week. So let's get it.
Welcome to the Kaiba Show.
All right, for those that don't know, there's a new show out called The Umbrella Academy on Netflix, and this show is based off of a comic book series from Dark Horse Comics. And let me say that this show was definitely a good one. Once again, Netflix delivered another hit show, and it's starring Ellen Page, and I think his name is Tom Hopper. He's from Black Sails. If any of you guys watch the show Black Sails. And yeah, this show is a hit. So basically, just to give you guys a premise with this show, we have I think it was 49 kids back in 1989 that were born at the exact same time from like 49 women, and we have Reginald Hargreaves, I think is his name, the father. He goes around and he searches for these kids that were miraculously born, because these women that gave birth to these 49 kids, they were not pregnant earlier in the day. Just out of nowhere, it was like kind of like the Bible with Mary having given birth to Jesus. You know, she was a virgin, and just out of nowhere she was pregnant, and you know, God spoke to her and spoke to Joseph and let them know, like, hey, listen, you know, she's going to be carrying, you know, my son, Jesus Christ, to basically save the world. So it's kind of like something like that, almost in the same aspect. We got these women that just out of nowhere, they just ended up getting pregnant. There was like no physical activities that took place. They just, out of nowhere, they got pregnant. And we have Reginald Hargreaves, who goes around searching for these women, and they pretty much, most of them didn't give him the baby, but 7 of them ended up giving their babies to him after he paid them. You know, they got compensated for it. And he raised these 7 kids as his own. And we find out that, you know, each kid has unique power, and they pretty much become like this little superhero team. So with that being said, you know, you flash forward to present day, and the team is kind of disbanded. They all go their own separate ways. So with that being said, the story for the show was pretty good. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys out there that haven't seen the show, because I highly recommend you check it out. Is it the greatest Netflix show that has come out? No, but it's definitely a hit. This show was definitely good. Some of the fighting in the show was on point. Let me say this. My favorite character in this show, hands down, is number 5. This kid deserves an Emmy. He deserves a Golden Globe. This kid deserves an Oscar, because number 5 is, everybody else is grown. I'm not going to tell you guys anything else to ruin it, but number 5 is still a kid. And when I tell you this kid's acting was on point, that you believe that he is a grown person trapped in a kid's body. Like, this kid, everything about his acting, he nailed it when it came to letting us audience, like making the audience believe that he is a freaking like 40-something, 50-something year old man trapped in a 13-year-old kid's body. Like, this kid's acting was superb. Hands down, I believed him. Like, I really was watching the show thinking like, yo, there is a 50-year-old man trapped in this kid's body. That's how good his acting was, that you did not think he was a kid in a lot of those scenes. You really thought it was a grown man trapped in a little kid's body. Like, this kid, I don't know what type of shows or movies he really did in the past, but for this show, like, his acting game was on point, and he was definitely by far one of my favorite characters. When you watch the show, you're going to see what I'm talking about. I love number 5. I like a lot of the other characters too. Ellen Page, she did good as number 7. A few other people did good too, but number 5, he just stood out. For me, he was like the star of the show. Like I said, the acting was on point with most of, pretty much everybody. There was nobody in the show that was like, I'm not really digging them. Except for, I will say this, and this is one of my nitpicks with the show. I felt like they should have went in a different direction with this one character, and this character was played by Mary J. Blige. And don't get me wrong, people, she did a good job for what like she brought to the table. Like her acting wasn't horrible, but the character that she played, she just wasn't that much believable to me. So with that being said, like I said, she did a good job. She did okay. It wasn't horrible. But I just felt like they should have casted somebody else in that role because it just wasn't believable to see Mary J. Blige play this character. But other than that, I don't think anybody else kind of rubbed me wrong when it came to the acting. Like I said, the show was definitely good. It's not the best show, but it was definitely good. And I think another nitpick I could probably say is just that I felt like the end of the show, they should have just came a little bit harder with the end scene. It should have been a little bit more epic, a little bit more climactic, because in the show, like I said, they get as they get older, the team gets disbanded. So when they have to come back for like this final battle to stop somebody, they didn't really showcase them being this great superhero team like how they was before. So I really think that that was their opportunity for when they came all back together to kind of showcase it, and they didn't. The ending isn't horrible. I just felt like if I was behind the scenes, if I was the writer, if I was the director, I probably would have made the scene, I would have took the scene in a different direction. That's all I'm saying. It's not a horrible way to end the show. I just felt like it should have been just a little bit more epic, because you hear throughout the show that they were once this great superhero team, and when they were a superhero team, they were like, you know, kids and, you know, young teenagers and stuff like that. So them as an adults, and they're still learning their powers, it just would have been great to see them come together for this last little battle. That's all I'm going to say about that, because like I said, I'm not trying to spoil it for anybody. But other than that, this show is definitely worth the watch. Highly recommend it. So if I'm going to give it a grade on the Kaiba scale 1 to 10, I think I want to lean towards an 8.5. This show was surprisingly good. I'm not familiar with the comic books, but just going into it just as a regular watcher, not knowing any really of the backstories, I felt like the show was good. Anybody that did read the comics from Dark Horse Comics, they might have you know, other things that they might nitpick with the show. I don't know the story arcs and the character arcs of everybody, but to me, I felt like Netflix did a good job, and I definitely think this show is worth checking out. So if you like what you see and you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you get notified every time I upload a video, and hit the like button, leave a comment at the bottom.